Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Affordable Housing Program Incorporated, also known as AHP, which is an affiliate of the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority. Would you like to take the roll call? Or should we do the pledge first? Or let's do the pledge first. Yeah. Thank you. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please, if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First order of business will be roll call.
Thank you. President Louis Jordan,
Here.
Director Scott Black.
I'm here. Can you hear me on the phone?
We can, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Director Valerie Craig. Director Sharon Davis.
Here.
Director Olivia Diaz.
Present.
Director Michael Disman. Treasurer Fred Heron. Director William McCurdy. Director Tick Segerbloom. Director Dan Shaw. Director Luciana Turner.
Here.
A quorum is present, and we are in compliance with the Nevada Open Meeting Law.
Thank you. Our next order of business will be public comment. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. Public comment that is repetitious, slanderous, offensive, inflammatory, amounts to personal attacks or interference with rights of other speakers is not allowed. Any person who acts in violation of these rules will be excused from the remainder of the meeting. And so now it's public speaking time, and I think we have someone who would like to speak. Yes, right now.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Connie Miller. I live in Sartini Plaza. And recently, like in the last couple of years, people started smoking in their apartment. And it's getting really, really bad. It affects me every day now. And I'm just trying to find a way to help myself or help staff fix this problem. I've done a little bit of research in the survey that the new Miss Scott agreed to put out to everyone. And there are monitors. She thought I wanted a camera. I do not want cameras, just a way to monitor the cigarette smoke and find the culprits. That seems to be the biggest problem, is finding exactly who's smoking. But I guarantee it's bad, and I've worked really hard to turn my health around. And I would appreciate it if you could help me some way, somehow, help them get it stopped. Thank you.
The next item of business is item A, approval of resolution AHP 30, and Frank Stafford will speak to that resolution.
Good morning, Frank Stafford, Director of Development Modernization. Resolution AHP 30 is for the approval to execute any and all documents necessary to prepare and submit an application for the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program to HUD for a 9% low-income housing tax credit application to Nevada Housing Division and Home Investment Partnerships Home Fund application to Clark County for financing and conversion of modernization of Hullum homes. The approval of this item will allow us to move forward with submitting our CHAP application to HUD to get approval to start the RAD process, converting Hullum homes from public housing over to project-based Section 8 and completing all the rehab that will encompass that transaction. Yes, the requested item is to approve Resolution HP 30 and authorize the president and/or vice president to execute any and all documents necessary to submit RAD application to HUD, the LIHTC application to the Nevada Housing Division, and home application to Clark County for conversion and rehab of Hullum homes.
Thank you. I see we have a question.
Commissioner Sagerblum.
Commissioner Sagerblum, and then we'll go to
Turner.
Commissioner.
Yes, just by way of clarification, why do we have a resolution as a separate item as opposed to just part of the agenda? Just curious.
Well, it's because of we're a separate corporation
Oh, okay.
under this particular umbrella.
Okay.
And then we'll, after
Okay, I saw it's on the next agenda, too.
yes. Well, is it the same on the next agenda as well?
Yes, it's the same item. We have to
Approve it under both?
submit the resolution for affordable housing, and then what we'll do is we'll set up the formation of the Hullum Homes LLC, Hullum Homes Manager LLC, and then the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority also has to issue the same, approve the same resolution prior to submitting this request to HUD.
Okay. And as long as we're asking, so this is actually in my district. Is this, we haven't picked who's actually going to buy the property yet, have we?
Well, there's no property for sale.
Well,
We're going to
but it's-
rehab it.
but it's- We're going to rehab it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be rehab, and with the RAD tax credit process, there will be an investor that'll be involved. So there'll be a 99% investor ownership of the property.
Right, but I'm saying that person or that entity has not been chosen yet.
No, not at this time. This is to get that whole process started.
And then do we put that out to bid? Or how's that?
Yes, it will. For the 9% tax credits, we're actually required to pre-qualify contractors. So we have already did a solicitation to pre-qualify, and we have 4 contractors that will be available to bid when that process goes out. And, we'll have to get the drawings and everything designed by the architect and all that as well.
Okay, great.
So this is just starting the process.
Do we look at all at what they want to do, and do we have input? Because it's in my district, I just had curiosity, is there anything I can do to look at it or be involved in the process?
Well, like I said, we will examine all of the units. With the architect, we get input from the residents as well, and this is for the interior and exterior of the site.
And we'll be
So-
back before the board before we make a final decision. Is that correct?
I don't quite understand.
Well, as what the commissioner is asking, will there be opportunity for the board to hear more about what we're doing as we're going forward?
Not before the board. I mean, I have a narrative that I can share with the board that indicates the type of work we intend to do there. It's going to be a total rehabilitation, stripping the building down to the studs, replacing all the mechanical system, all the electrical, plumbing. So basically, everything is going to be replaced on that site. We're just going to leave the shell of the building in place, and then there'll be some exterior improvement, lighting improvements, security lighting. So it's a total comprehensive, and the architect will, once they come on board, that's when we'll get the design, and we're already getting inputs from residents as well. We've had 2 neighborhood meetings on the site.
Director McCurdy?
So it would be helpful if we can have, as we go along through this process, what I'm hearing Commissioner Sagerblum say is that he just would like to be involved with some of the, I guess, the steps that are going to be moving forward before it even gets to a place where there has been a design selected and so forth. So if there could just be a follow-up, just so the commissioner can,
Absolutely.
be made aware of what's happening. That's it.
Yeah, we can definitely request any input that you have. We are going to be having planning sessions, which you're welcome to, sit in on and provide input with that as well.
Yeah, just let me know. I just don't want it painted bright red.
Okay, and we'll make sure you're included.
Okay. So
Commissioner,
noted.
I'm sorry, Director Turner, and then Director Craig will come back to you.
Good afternoon. I was listening to you said the RAD application. Is this the only one we have to do for What I'm trying to say is, do we have to do this every time we do a RAD conversion?
You need to.
Do we have to apply for this resolution?
Yes, we do. We have to do one for each property as we go forward. So this is probably our 11th one that we're
Okay,
requesting.
so altogether, how many do we have under our portfolio for the RAD conversions? Do you know?
We have 9 currently and 1 in the pipeline. This will make 2 in the pipeline.
Okay, so 2. So, those other RAD conversions, are they complete? Or are they still, being worked on?
They are complete and occupied.
They're complete and occupied. So how many occupants do we expect to house with these 2 that might be coming up?
Okay, with the RAD, with this type of RAD, it's considered a preservation. So Downs Tower, which we previously approved, had 200 units, so those 200 will be renovated. Hullum has 59 units, so it's not going to increase the number. It's basically just going to give you a brand-new unit, hopefully with another 30-year lifespan.
Thank you.
Then Director Craig, I'm sorry.
Yes, Commissioner, Director, I have a question. On page 5 of 6, approval to increase the contract with the architects. So my question is, I'm looking at the money. So even though we don't have it, you're already, it's on page 5 of 6.
Well, that's
Already, you're going to,
That's the next agenda. That's not for this right now.
oh, different Highland, different one, even though it has the same name, Highland Homes? Highland Homes, same name?
Well, we,
No, this is for the affordable housing. That's the Southern Nevada Regional Board that item is on.
Oh, ooh, thank you for this. See, I talk about unity and clarity and communication. Thank you.
okay, very good.
So I forgot to ask this question, if you don't mind. So obviously, when we're rehabbing, some of the units won't be inhabitable during that time. We must have a process where we put those people somewhere and then allow them to come back?
Yeah, typically what we do, and in this case, it'll be the same way. There's 59 units on the site. I think there's like 12 or 13 buildings. So we'll take, say, roughly 3 buildings offline, which could be 12 to 18 units or what have you, relocate them off-site for up to a year. We rehab those units, and then the remaining residents that stayed on the site just move from their old unit into the new one. And we go through that process until everything's been done and bring the first group back.
I have a question. I didn't major in business, but my question is, because we are being done again at Jamestown Towers. My question is, when you talk to the residents, do you all have a recording whenever you talk to them? That's the first question.
When we talk to the residents.
Do you have minutes? When you go see them, do you have minutes?
Yes, we do.
So everywhere you've been, you've had minutes?
Yes, we do.
Okay, all right. Then my next question is regarding that, is that my question is, when I was in grad school, we had to do deliverables. And when we did our deliverables, we had to, like maybe developing a system, we had to put in there like the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, in order to clarify how things are going to be done. Is this a process that you were doing during your RAD conversions where there is a stage?
There's a process that you can refer to as a stage or a phase or a schedule, but there is a process where everything is outlined.
Is it outlined for whom? For the residents to peruse?
Yes, it is. We
Director,
agree.
there's a very clearly prescribed process that HUD has us follow. And not only do they have us follow it, they check it before they approve it.
I understand that, but my question, and even though I've gone a little bit further, there's somewhere where, and I was trying to find it, where they talked about the first stage. And so the thing about it is I understand with your organization that you all have a process. But my question is, as residents, and we're the recipients, will we be allowed to have what you're doing in stage 1 before you finally get the deliverables?
Absolutely. That's a part of the community process. So for example, in Jamestown, we've come out once a month and we talk about where we are. We brought the architect out. We've shown renderings. As we continue to go in that process, we'll continue to communicate with residents. Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, we recently came out, we talked about relocation. And so all of those things are are just steps in communication that we make sure we follow. But at the same time, or I shouldn't say but in addition, they're also required by HUD.
And I can just add on to that. For this process, HUD requires that we do a briefing with the residents with complete minutes that has to be submitted with our RAD application, which is going to occur after this resolution is approved. That starts the process. Once the RAD the CHAP has been awarded, which is the Conditional Housing Assistance Payment Plan, we have to go out and do another briefing with the residents and notify them of that. Those minutes have to be documented and uploaded to the RAD resource desk for HUD. There are no other meetings required after that, but as a housing authority, we still go out and meet monthly with the residents during this entire process until we start construction.
So as residents, would the residents be able to hear the minutes to see if there's, sometimes when someone's doing something, sometimes they may misquote or miss whatever. Are the residents allowed to be able to see the minutes? Read them?
Yes, the minutes should be evolved and distributed to the residents.
Is there any other question?
If
Is there
no other-
a motion?
Yeah, if there are no other questions, I move for approval of the resolution.
Second.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Oh, wait,
Aye.
we need to see who moved and seconded.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so it was moved by Director McCurdy, it was seconded by Director Segerblum. All in favor was unanimous. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. The other item of business is citizen participation. Items raised under the portion of agenda cannot be deliberated or acted upon by the board. Is there any additional participation on this item? Is there a motion to adjourn? Seeing none? There's a move to adjourn by Commissioner Segerblum,
Second.
second by Director McCurdy. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Vice Commissioner McCurdy. Thank you.
All right, we'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Regional Housing Authority on this June 16, 2022, and we'll open it up for roll call.
Thank you. Chairperson Olivia Diaz,
Present.
Vice Chairperson William McCurdy,
Present?
Commissioner Scott Black,
Here.
Commissioner Valerie Craig, Commissioner Sharon Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Michael Disman, Commissioner Tick Segerbroom, Commissioner Dan Shaw, Commissioner Lushonda Turner.
Present.
A quorum is present, and we are in compliance with the Nevada Open Meeting Law.
All right, thank you so much. We do have a quorum as stated, and I will also say that Commissioner Shaw is absent excused. We'll now move on to public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to testify on public comment on items that are on the agenda? As a note, you will be able to come forward for the second portion of the agenda if you have something that you would like to raise to the board at the end of the meeting. Is there anyone either in person or online who has public comment? Seeing and hearing none, we'll now move on to item number 3, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes or questions or concerns on the minutes as have been presented? We have a motion by Commissioner Segerbloom. Is there a second? We have a second. Is there anyone wishing to abstain? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, minutes are approved. We will now move on to item number 4, approval of the agenda with the inclusion of any emergency items and/or the deletion of any items. I'll entertain a motion to approve. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Segerbloom. A second. Is there any questions? Question? Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on to section number 2, consent items. Is there a motion? All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Segerbloom. Is there a second? Second? All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion is adopted unanimously. This is the end of consent agenda. We'll now move on to section 3. Turn it over to Director Jordan.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'd like to acknowledge the departed since our last meeting. We have Frankie May, Edward Godfrey, Sharon Kursay, Jacob Eberhardt, David Newton, Diane Newsom, Kenneth Gwynn, Billy Cannell, Christopher Kayak, Ronaldo Solis, and one of our employees, Dewana Campbell, lost her father. And so could we have a moment of silence for the departed, please? Thank you. Mr. Chair, the next item for discussion and possible action is item number 7, which is the annual independent audit report for the period ending of September 30th, 2021. I'm going to have our CFO, Fred Herron, present this item.
Good afternoon, Board. Frederick Herron, Chief Administrative Officer for the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority. Each year, we're required to have our book of records as well as our major programs reviewed by an independent auditor. This year, this audit was performed by Rector Reed and Lofton, Rector Lofton and Reed, one of those numbers. But Dale Rector is here to present the audit report to the Board. Dale.
Thank you, Mr. Herron. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Dale Rector, Rector Reeder in Lofton. Fred, thanks for the introduction. Thanks for having us back. And I've got to say this, I think Commissioner Scott's on the phone, is that right? And one of the things I remember from presentations from years gone by is, as I sit through this, I only sit through a little bit, I sit through this and I'm looking at the kindness and the graciousness for which the meetings are conducted and the listening to people. And I always walked away from this board as being very, very positive. And along those lines, I would like to say that we have come a long ways through COVID, and just it's been tough. We've had issues and findings in the past with tenant files and things that weren't done totally right, but this last year proved to be a really, really good audit. And Fred demanded that I come and present to you the findings in the report, which I'm gonna walk through these here next. Is this okay? All right. You've got a massive audit report in front of you. And I don't anticipate that anybody read it last night, if you received it and read it and go through it. And I don't anticipate anybody will read through it tonight. If you're having trouble sleeping, you might start, page 1 and walk through it. But I thought it would be important to tell you what is exactly important in the audit report that I, as a commissioner, need to know. And it is this: pages 1, 56, and 58, you'll see 3 opinions. These 3 opinions are opinions from an independent CPA firm that basically says your financial statements present fairly and are clean. They're a clean, unmodified opinion on page 1. Page 56 and 58 have to do with government auditing standards in the Single Audit Act. And we have to audit at 3 different levels, and those levels are all opined upon in these pages. So what was our opinion of the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority? It is clean. There's no errors, no compliance problems, no material weaknesses or non-compliance. Takes you a little while to get through all the pages to understand that, but now that I've told you that, you can go right to them and say, okay, this is where it says. On pages 3 through 9, you'll see a management discussion and analysis. That is perhaps, if you're going to read anything for information, that is one of the sections you need to read, because it talks about a comparative financials from one year to the next. It talks about why you had an increase in cash, why you had a decrease in this, why you had this go up or go down. And it's very, very good narrative. It's written, drafted, edited by management here, and then it's included in the audit report as information. The numbers in that management discussion analysis are the same as what are in the financial statements. They're required to be the same, and so we make sure they're the same. The other highlight I want to point you to is page 12. It's a statement of cash flows. And the statement of cash flows, we won't walk through the complexities of the statement, but it shows 5.5 million increase in operating cash, which is good. Did you have a good year? Mama used to say to me, how are we doing on cash? And if we weren't doing good on cash, we had a problem. So I'm telling you, from a cash perspective, you're in good shape. The liabilities have decreased. The cash has increased, which is really good. And page 60 gives you a summary of what I just said with the first bullet point. That is the prior audit findings. There's one page dedicated to a summary of the results of the audit. It's page 60, prior audit findings. We had one on the HCV tenant files that was cleared. And then what were the current findings? They're none. And I got to say to staff and everyone here, job well done. Well done.
Thank you.
A lot to navigate through, a lot to do, particularly in COVID, particularly with all the turnovers you've had. Even through the staff turnover, you've been able to maintain good compliance and good controls, which positions you well for future RADs and for future grants and for future revenue from the federal government. So you want to hear that and you want to see that. The last thing I'm going to point you to in regards to things you need to know in the audit report is page 67. It's a schedule of expenditures of federal awards. $158 million was received from the federal government. So it's elevator speech. You're in the elevator and they say, well, what have you been doing? I'm a commissioner to Southern Nevada. Well, how much money did the feds give you? $153 million. You'll know exactly what that means. $135 million came from the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So why is that important? Well, you need to know the funding source, but also our compliance requirements are dictated by the schedule. We have to audit the Housing Choice Voucher Program because it's a major program. And we've audited it in detail, so much so that people feel like they're getting beat up. In the management discussion analysis, you'll see this comparative balance sheet from 2021 to 2020. One of the things I want to draw your attention to as you were discussing the RAD and the approval of the next RAD deal, you have $202 million in assets. If you go to the balance sheet of the financial statements, you'll see another column there called discrete component units, and there's $165 million there. In addition to the $200 million, on the pages that follow after this, you'll see another $165 million. Those are all the RAD properties for which you don't own, but you have a vested interest in them. And eventually, one day, all those tax credit properties are going to come back, and you will get to manage and own 100% of them. And that's the goal. And I have to say this, I commend you for moving more to the RAD and to the redevelopment and to everything you're doing with the tax credit. It is the only way we're going to increase affordable housing in the future. Tax credits, RAD, and conversion, and more properties will go to the Section 8. But in this particular case, it's just the governmental fund that's presented in this comparative analysis. You see current assets increased by $3 million. You see unrestricted increased by almost $10 million. So it's a very good analysis to understand and see. The next page, you're going to see a comparative income and expense statement. We had prior period adjustments related to a restatement of assets for a RAD deal. And everyone knew that. But for the most part, if you look at the governmental grants and subsidy line, $13 million increase. Where was that money spent? Housing Choice Voucher. So all in all, very good operations. Look at the change in that position for 2021, close to $3 million. That's after $7 million in depreciation. So very, very good operations, very, very good financial results. Your administration went down 2 million, which is, you know, that's phenomenal. You don't see that in industry. Your housing assistance payments went up 10 million. Your emphasis changed more to housing and assisting people, and that's good. No compliance findings, significant items to note. You did a good job. We reviewed over 400 tenant files for compliance with less than 1% error rate. Very, very excellent job. Net pension obligation decreased by 9.7 million. What does that mean? Almost nothing, because next year it'll go up by that. And I say that with tongue in cheek because you followed the markets. As the markets do better, your obligation goes down. As it doesn't do as good, it's going to go up. But the immediate resources of cash are still there. You had a $9.8 million increase in unrestricted net position, which is your available resources. And you had positive financial result with over $5 million added to cash totally from unrestricted sources. So compliance-wise, no findings. Financial strength, excellent. Staff worked with us, had a great spirit during the whole audit, and a really, really good job all the way around. Even the attorney letter was good. I like that. It was very thorough. So I want to say, Mr. Jordan, you're walking into something here which I look at with pride and say, okay, they're on the right track, they're doing the right thing. It's like, man, this is great. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I read it. I took it and I read it.
Did it make you fall asleep, Valerie?
No, because I went to a conference and they talked about numbers in the budget and all of that. And because they frightened me adequately and they did a great job, I paid attention to that and I was impressed. I have to say that I was impressed too.
Yeah.
And I hated accounting in college.
Yeah. It wasn't my favorite, but I've dealt with it.
I'll just make a comment. You know, we get these a lot. Every agency we're on, we get an audit every year, and this is the best one I've ever heard. So I think, Mr. Jordan, you may have dined to God to heaven when you came from Marin County to Las Vegas. So this is a great place to be.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. I'm very, kudos to the staff, everyone, and our financial management of our processes. We're going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a great, but just don't walk outside because it still is 110.
But you're positioned really well and really strong for future RAD and property conversion. Everyone looks at Vegas and says, we have a serious lack of affordable housing. So we're doing it well, let's do more of it. So it's like, you're well positioned for that.
Mr. Director, thank you for your, is there a comment? I will get the comment online.
I had one. I wanted to, give not just Mr. Jordan, Mr. Herron's he's a numbers man. And I've noticed he likes numbers. So I just want to give Mr. Jordan as well as Mr. Herron and those people that work with him in the accounting area.
And Fred doesn't like to spend money, so.
Yeah, not Fred.
I have a comment,
Commissioner Turner?
or kind of like a question, maybe you can help me understand, Director. So I'm learning more and more about how our financials has to line up with everything that's in accordance with the housing restriction regulations. And with the CMAP, does this make it even better for us when they look at all the things we're trying to align with to get more grants to help us with the choice neighborhoods as we go along? If we continue this momentum, we can expect that we'll be in, in the ranks for other things, which leads me to say about the move to work. And I guess you have to be above standard, is that what they say, or high standard, or high performing in this segment, the move to work grant that could be available to us in the future as well. So I just wanted to put that out there, and so you can kind of explain a little bit more why we need these financials and all of these audits to be correct for us, so that we're actually getting the correct grades, I guess, for our agency.
Commissioner, actually, you said it, and you said it well. we have to show that we can manage what we have in order to get some of the additional offerings that HUD has available. So for example, to the moving to work, for the sake of the audience, the moving to work it's grant funded. Right now, we get money in buckets. We can only use our Section 8 money for Section 8. We can only use our operations money for operations. With MTW or moving to work, it's block funded, I should say, and money can come in and we can move it around any way we choose according to our MTW contract. There's only about 45 of the 3,200 housing authorities around the country that has been granted that MTW status. We haven't quite hit the criteria in order to be considered, but we're definitely working towards it. So yes, to answer your question or to reiterate what you mentioned, we have to make sure that we're in compliance, that in certain categories that we're high performer in order just to meet application, and we're moving towards that direction.
Well, I'd like to thank you, and you're in a great position because all the things are going up, and it looks like it's working out that Mr. Lewis is, the one that's really putting his efforts in, and I thank you for taking on such a massive undertaking.
Well, it's a team effort, and it
Yes,
starts
staff
with
is wonderful.
it starts with the board, and it's setting the tone, giving us the opportunity to operationalize some vision. And so while I graciously accept the compliment, I thank you for and the rest of the commissioners for setting the tone to allow us to be creative and do the things we do. Thank you.
All right. I have a question. More so of a comment. We just want to say thank you for the work that you've done. We're certainly in a really good position with all the opportunity that we have available to us, with all the resources that we received from our federal government. Just two questions. Approximately how many audits do you do over the course of a year?
We do our specialty, the only thing we do a couple cities, but for the most part, it's all housing authority. I've been doing housing authority work for 43 years. And right now we do about 50 to 55, 50 to 55 audits around the country, which decent number. We used to do about 70 or 80, and we decided with RAD we needed to do less and do more with less, if you will. That makes sense. And so that's pretty much all we do, and we do some larger ones, like I'm leaving here and I'm going to Raleigh. We'll be doing the audit in Raleigh for the next 2 weeks. And so we get to see a lot of larger agencies. I've got a large agency in Georgia that is moving to work. I can echo the fungibility of that, and it's a really, really great program. So that's.
Okay. And so from your experience, throughout the various, regions across the nation, how would you rate our housing authority compared to other agencies that you've audited?
If I said you were the top one, I'd say that's wrong. You're in the top two. Raleigh is actually the best I've seen, but I think you could catch them. And for a large agency, for this agency this size, when we look at 400 files and find less than 1% error, and our guys are looking.
I know.
It's well done. And it's a little unfair of me to say you're number two. You're definitely number one out west, so.
Well, we gotta be number one somewhere. I just
exactly
wanted to hear it come out of your mouth,
Right,
so.
right.
But with all that being said, hearing that we're, not only in compliance, but also financial, those are two big buckets that we need to make sure that we checking boxes in. So just want to say thank you for your work and thank you for your presentation, and glad you answered the call of Mr. Herron called.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, team.
All right, if there are no further questions, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the annual independent audit.
Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Segerbloom, a second
Second.
by Commissioner Craig. You both have missed it. And we'll now take it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, all opposed? Any abstentions? The independent audit is approved unanimously. I will now move on to item number 8, approval of the revision to acting pay rule number 4.3.8 in the personnel handbook.
Mariana from HR will present this item.
Hi, Mariana.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Board. I'm Mariana Vasquez, the HR Specialist for the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority. Bear with me, I'm a little nervous.
Take your time.
I am here to present item number 8 on the agenda, approval for a revision of the acting pay rule 4.3.8 in the personal handbook. The Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority is requesting to revise the acting pay provision outlined in the personal handbook, Rule 4.3.8, to remove the cap on an employee, and employee can serve in an acting capacity, and to compensate staff to mirror the language in Article 18 of the current collective bargaining agreement governing acting pay. The current personnel handbook states that an employee can serve in an acting capacity for only 180 days and would be compensated at 2 steps or 5%. However, the current collective bargaining agreement, acting pay Article 18, stipulates that an employee can serve longer than 180 days in an acting capacity as long as the employee and SNRHA agree to the extension in writing. Furthermore, the collective bargaining agreement provides a compensation strategy calm down. To compensate an employee for performing duties of a higher classification based on the complexity of the functions that the employee would be expected to perform. This change is in need to provide flexibility in staffing critical positions until human resources can recruit a replacement.
All right, that's perfect. So it sounds like we're just codifying what's in the collective bargaining agreement versus what's in the personnel handbook. And with that being said, amazing presentation. We appreciate your work that you do. Are there any questions from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a
I
motion.
second motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sagerblum and a second from Commissioner,
I had a question.
oh,
I had a question.
we have a question, but there is a motion on the floor, but you can ask your question. Motion, it's been properly
I
motioned and
was trying to-
seconded. We'll now go to the question.
Okay, well, the question was for the HR specialist. And when you say acting, those are people that might be in the interim or doing another position until the other one is filled. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. About how many employees are doing that? Roughly.
It can vary. It could be 1, it could be 5 or more. It just depends
Okay.
on the vacancy.
So we just don't have a lot of employees doing that. We just have a
No.
few.
A handful of them maybe at a time.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And it sounds like, just for clarity purposes, it sounds like we just need to codify this to ensure that we're in compliance with what the CBA says, but also in their interim, while we're, waiting to bring someone on for a specific position or positions, we can do that and they be compensated properly. Commissioner Desmond, you had a question? No, okay. All right. Seeing and hearing no more questions, either online or in person, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion is adopted, and item number 8, approval of revision to acting pay, has been approved. We'll now move on to item number 9. The approval of a resolution, number 117, authorizing the Housing Authority to execute any and all documents necessary to prepare and submit a rental assistance demonstration, or otherwise known as RAD program application, to HUD. And we'll have a presentation from
Frank
Director Jordan.
Stafford.
Frank Stafford.
Good afternoon, Frank Stafford, Director of Development Modernization. So resolution number SNRHA 117 is authorizing SNRA to execute any and all documents necessary to prepare and submit a rental assistance demonstration program application to HUD, Nevada 2022 9% low-income housing tax credit application to the Nevada Housing Division, and Home Investment Partnership Fund application to Clark County for the financing of the redevelopment of Hullum Homes Apartment and authorizing the SNRHA Executive Director to execute any and all documents related to the submissions. The background is October 2015, the Board of Commissioners authorized staff to submit a portfolio award, a RAD application to HUD to nominate some of its public housing sites. Hullum Homes is one of the public housing and developments submitted. At this time, through a subsidiary of Affordable Housing Programs, Inc., would like to submit an application to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the conversion of Hullum Homes under the RAD program. The conversion will include the comprehensive modernization of all 59 public housing units. The estimated development cost is $11.374 million, with anticipated funding coming from equity from the sale of 9% low-income housing tax credits from the Nevada Housing Division and Clark County Home Funds. At this time, the Executive Director is requesting Board approval of Resolution Number SNRHA 117 to submit a 9% low-income housing tax credit application to the Nevada Housing Division, a home application to Clark County, and to apply for any other financing need in relation to the project, and to cost the formation of limited liability companies required for the purpose of carrying out the conversion and comprehensive modernization of Hullum Home. Action requested. Approve resolution number SNRHA 117 and authorize the Executive Director to enter into and execute any and all documents necessary for the submission of 9% low-income tax credit application to the Nevada Housing Division, an application to Clark County for home funds, and to apply for any other financing needed for the project. And 2 is the formation of the Hullum Homes LLC and the Hullum Homes Manager LLC.
Members of the board, either in person or online, are there any questions on the background, or is there a motion to approve the requested action?
Motion to approve the resolution and the request for the money.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Sagerbloom and a second by Commissioner Craig. Are there any questions at this time? Seeing and hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion is approved and unanimous. We'll now move on to item number 10, approval to utilize $1 million from Development Fund reserves to proceed with the pre-development of the RAD conversion of Hullum Homes.
Background. In 2017, SNRHA submitted several properties for HUD approval for conversion on the newly created Rental Assistance Demonstration Program. HUD approved all the requests and issued CHAPs for all of the submitted properties. At this time, the SNRHA is moving forward with the RAD conversion of Hullum Homes. The project will be funded with 9% tax credits, Clark County Home Funds, as well as possible available funding sources. In connection with the ongoing efforts for the RAD conversion of Hullum Homes, various preliminary third-party pre-development services and expenditures are required that the SNRHA will need to pay in advance of project closing. In order to pay these upfront costs, the SNRHA is requesting $1,090,002 of development fund reserves to be used to set up a revolving account to finance all preliminary fees and costs required for RAD conversion. All the initial costs paid by the SNRHA will be reimbursed back to the agency by the project at closing. The SNRHA will not lose any of these funds, as all pre-development expenditures will be reimbursed back to the agency and returned to the SNRHA reserves. As the Board of Commissioners has already granted approval to move forward with the RAD conversion of Hullum Homes, we ask that approval be granted to create a revolving account to secure preliminary services required for the conversion. Action requested. The Executive Director requests Board approval to utilize $1,090,002 of Development Fund reserves to create a revolving account to pay for pre-development costs and services needed for the RAD conversion of Hullum Homes.
Thank you, Ms. Stafford. I will entertain a motion to approve the Director's request of
I have a question.
$1,090,002. We have a
I
question.
have a question. All right, it said that, it states here that all of the costs paid by the SNRHA will be reimbursed back to the agency by the project at closing. And I'm just wondering, did you all give them a time limit, or when we can anticipate it as the board to know when it has been done? They've received the funds.
Well, once we move forward with the process for the RAD conversion, we'll select the investors, which hasn't been done yet, and we go through all these steps, get the architect approved, get the drawings, get the bid. And then at closing, which typically takes roughly, say, 270 days from that starting process, when we close, then that's when the money is reimbursed back through our what's considered an equity draw. So we'll submit a draw to the investors at that time, and those funds are reimbursed.
So that means that the board will be notified when it's been put back where they should be, or we'll just find out maybe at another board meeting?
I don't think there's notification to the board, but that's the reason we kind of call it a revolving account, because funds are coming out and they're being replenished as these projects go on.
So this approval is essentially, not only a request, but an understanding that there will be reimbursed, which is, why they've outlined it here. So at the very minimum, we have, a certainty that we will be reimbursed. And we have Commissioner Turner.
Yes, thank you. Through these steps and stages, every time you make a major decision, can you please follow up with the board? I'm sure, Director, you will make sure that the board knows when there's something necessary, some changes. This is the process that's supposed to happen as we develop this affordable housing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, while there's no formal process in place, it's very reasonable to expect that as those funds come back in, that we can update the board on that. Yes, that's very possible.
Thank you. Thank you.
That could be done either through committee or just through a process that says as the funds come in, we can make that.
Or when you give your executive report, or,
Yes.
when you go over some things, just refresh us so we're,
Duly
we're all
noted.
together.
Duly noted, yes.
Thank you.
Email, report, just anything.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have now arrived at the point of I'm asking for a motion.
Okay, I'm ready to make a motion to go ahead and front the money or put it in the account, and then you're going to let us know when some of it comes back.
Sure.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Desmond has seconded the motion. Any questions? Seeing, hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion is adopted unanimously. We'll now move on to item, before I go to number 11, Mr. Stafford, can we get you some water? You've been up there a long time.
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
Thanks.
Just gotta make sure. All right. We'll now move on to item number 11. Approval to increase the contract C19041 with RAFI Rafi Architects by $651,252. Mr. Stafford.
Background, the Development Modernization Department has been in negotiations with Rafi Architect, the selected professional under QBS 19017 for A&E Design Services, Category Number 1, Architecture and Engineering Services, for indefinite quantities of tasks PHA-wide for A&E design required for the acquisition and rehabilitation of RAD conversion of Hullum homes. The SNRHA negotiated a fair and reasonable cost with Rafi in the amount of $651,252. This price seems fair and reasonable for the imperative and considerable amount of work involved for funding this contract totaling $651,250. It will be paid from the revolving fund set up from developer reserves to fund pre-development services needed for RAD conversion of Hullum homes. The services to be paid are eligible expenditures. A representative from Rafi will be available to answer any questions. And this contract is subject to the Section 3, and Rafi has indicated they will comply with our Section 3 policy to the greatest extent feasible. Action requested, Executive Director requests board approval to increase Rafi Architectural Contract Number C19041 by $651,252 for the A&D design services required for the RAD conversion of Hullum homes.
Are there any questions?
I do, I have one. I guess maybe because I took English in school. It says, funded this contract totaling $651,252 will be paid from the revolving account. I understand that. But then it says here, a representative from RAFI will be available to answer any questions. So my question is, you're going to give them the funding, or they're going to come to us and we talk to them before we concur that we can give them the monies, or how you going to do that process?
Is a representative present?
Yes.
Okay, we can go from there. Please come forward. We will have a few questions from the board. Thank you so much. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Laura Jane Spina. I'm president of Raffi Architecture. I do apologize for my attire. Usually I'd dress more appropriately, but I've been out on the job site all day.
Welcome.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Craig, you have a few questions?
Well, okay, now, it says what kinds of things are you going to do? What are the steps? Asking for that money, and it says you're going to be here available to answer any questions, and so just what kind of documentation are you giving us to tell us that you want that money?
So we've submitted a proposal that has given all our qualifications. We've worked on 2 other RAD projects before. We were fortunate enough to win the Landsman Garden project as well as Beager Estates. So we've been through this process with the team before. Our original process of how we got selected is that the Hutton Indian Housing put out a proposal, oh my gosh, many years ago. We've been working with you all for almost 10 years. But originally, the government put out a proposal. We submitted our qualifications. We're a woman-owned disadvantaged small business enterprise. So we were selected to be put into your stable. There are 2 other architectural firms in your stable. And how the process works is as different projects or opportunities come up, then we all get a chance to bid or propose on those projects at that time. So we've submitted a proposal, and that's how we began our negotiations for Home and Homes. We will be turning in different deliverable dates, as you had mentioned before. So we turn in a 15% deliverable date. That usually shows our schematic design or conceptual designs. Then at 30%, we bring it up to design development and presenting it. So if there's changes or that types of things, when that happens, then at 60%, we continue with design development. We submit it again. We receive any comments back. At 90%, we start our construction documents. So we don't really look for many more changes after that. And then we submit our final for bidding and construction.
I guess my question is, you doing all that, who are you submitting it to? The executive director? And then if you're submitting it to the executive director or maybe the person in finance, do we, the board, get to look at it and make a decision? Like maybe 10%, when you get to the 10%, 20%, and then the 90%?
I'll just hop in. Typically, organizationally, we have a department that goes to, that we've entrusted them to do that job. And when they go through their due diligence period, and they've determined that this is a qualified, entity that has been vetted and that has, from what it sounds like, a history, it then comes before us just for final approval. But as a department, for the department's sake, they do their job and then they report to us. But we don't get into the weeds of every single proposal that comes in. But if there's a concern, then we have the ability through this process to bring forward any concerns, but we do not get into the weeds of that. No, we don't.
And I understand that this property is in Commissioner Searblum's, so I did make a note that we will be happy to include you on any of those meetings, and maybe he could come back and report to y'all what's happening at that time.
But was that sufficient?
That's like passing the buck.
Commissioner Craig, was that sufficient?
Like I said, I went to a conference and they frightened me about the budget, so I may
Absolutely.
be okay after a few weeks.
Okay.
One of the other things, too, I think that's really groovy about this project, and Frank didn't get a chance to talk about it, is that we're also going to be able to enlarge their community center there to include, that they don't have right now, a library, a computer area, a weight room and exercise area. They're also really looking at the opportunities for energy savings. So they are putting photovoltaic panels up for solar panels to help with taking down some of those expenditures, as well as we're putting in new windows, so there'll be double pane so the wind won't blow through, help with dusting too. Exterior doors, tankless water heaters, brand new ductwork. We're adding extra insulation. Then the community garden area, we're adding also on the site, picnic tables, benches, and shade structures, as well as some covered recreational areas. We'll be talking to see what is preferred by the homeowners, but HUD recommends things like dog parks or shuffleboard areas or that type of stuff, as well as new children's playgrounds.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, either online or in person? Commissioner Turner?
Yes, Ms. Craig, can we, you might need to move over there. They're gonna have a brand new place from Jonestown. Maybe you
It's
can.
too late.
get
I
her-
already got the reserved.
Thank you so much again for joining us, and congratulations on the success of your women-owned business. We love to see it and support it.
Yeah.
Also, if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Segerbloom, a second by Commissioner Craig. Any comments? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I have to run off, but I don't want to leave if you need my vote. Do we have a quorum without me?
That is the last item.
That's okay, perfect.
Thank you, Commissioner Segerbloom.
Thank you so much.
All right, motion is adopted, and there were no abstentions.
Congratulations again, Fred, and you for inheriting this great organization.
Thank you.
All right, so the last item, section number 5, to receive a report from the Executive Director of the City Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very short report, but I think impactful. If I had to categorize time spent between now and last meeting with myself and staff, I would categorize it under the topics of communication and collaboration. First of all, I'd like to report that we had an outstanding visit by the United States Secretary of HUD, Marcia Fudge. I've done this work 20-plus years, and this is only the second time that I've had opportunity to have a sitting secretary come into a jurisdiction that I managed, and so know that it's an honor. Thank goes to Congressman Horsford for making it happen. He came out to tour her district, and while we had an opportunity, literally, and Vice Chair McCurdy was in tow with us, we spent our entire day with the United States Secretary. I like to say there were two things that we did. We made it very, very clear that we needed more federal resources in the way of Section 8 vouchers particularly. And in doing so, we also made it very clear, as indicated in our meeting today, that we're very, very well adept at using the tools that HUD makes available. You know, when we talked earlier about, I think it was Commissioner Turner who asked about the number of RADs we've done, I think we need to understand that's a pretty big deal. 9 conversion. HUD is pushing us, as I'm sure you've heard in your conferences you've attended, to go through a process of transitioning from traditional public housing. And I'm very proud to say that as an organization, we're moving along that way. So talking with the Secretary, helping her understand the affordable housing needs, but at the same time also showing off some of the conversions we've done. We had an opportunity to visit at Rose Garden, where we partnered with Nevada Hand, and we also had a chance to do a tour of Marble Manor. We're in the process of the CNI. And so very, very good day, very time well spent. We talked about the collaboration with us in the city as we move to make this process happen. In the way of collaboration, had an opportunity to meet with the group, and we spent a whole day looking at veterans issues, you know, health, housing, not only looking at specific services for veterans, but also for veterans' families. And I was in company with some of the leadership team from the Section 8 department, where we sat and really looked at ways in which we can make sure that we're providing services to our veterans and their families. Last Saturday, the staff and a number of our partners participated in an event called Family Day, and I think we have someone from the team who's going to come up and just give us a quick highlight of what Family Day was about.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Jason Solorzano. I am a Family Self-Sufficiency Coordinator with the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority. I was also named the chairperson for the Family Resource Day Event Planning Committee. First off, I want to start off by giving a big thank you to Commissioner McCurdy for helping us find a location to host our event and for his staff that helped us coordinate with the Walnut Recreation Center. Without that help, this event would not have been possible. We held the event on Saturday, June 4th, 2022. It was a day full of family fun, activities, music, food, snacks, raffles, and many, many valuable resources from our partnering agencies in the Valley. We had a total of 20 hardworking staff members from different departments here in SNRHA. We also had 42 total vendors from all around the city. Thanks to our collaborative efforts, we were able to serve 294 people, comprised from 109 families. We were able to give away 24 raffle prizes. Many of our vendors who were there have shared their gratitude and their positive feedback of the event. Here's a couple of comments that I wanted to share with you from a couple of our vendors. First one comes from Ms. Tia Stone from Signs of Hope. I thoroughly enjoyed this event. I was able to speak to people that were very interested in what Signs of Hope does as an organization, as well were interested in using the resources that we provide. As someone who grew up going to the Walnut Recreation Center, I am very glad that the center still provides great resources for the community. The second one I would like to read to you all is from Mr. Paul Thornton from Nevada 211. Martha, as always, a great event. This one was the best ever with the number of people who came through. I was able to educate so many people, not only about 211, but about our new 211 Youth app. A steady stream of people, and it was not overwhelming. All of the activities for the kids were fantastic. Plus, the hot dogs were really good and tasted great. You and the team members did an excellent job of making sure everyone, including the vendors, were helped in any way needed. I had an excellent location. A little confusing. Thank you. I had the pleasure to speak with Jason a few minutes and express the above compliments and a few more. You are all VIPs in my book. You know I will be there to support you in whatever way I can. This was definitely a successful day, not only for our department, but for our agency and our community partners. Hearing this type of feedback from our partners and our residents is what makes all of this worth it. And I feel very honored to have had the chance to help put together an event that promotes positivity for our families that we serve. One thing I can definitely tell you guys, I'm ready for next year's event. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And then the final part of my report, Commissioner, is that we're going to continue this spirit of collaboration this coming Saturday, as we're going to have a homeowner expo. And I wanted to, in his absence, thank Commissioner Sigerbloom for helping us land the Cambridge Recreation Center. And so you're all invited to come out on Saturday. But again, in this spirit of collaboration and partnership, we're very proud and excited about the connections we're making, and particularly the hard work that the staff is doing. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Director Jordan. And Mr. Chairman, if you ever, want to come by and record a radio spot, you have a great radio voice. Just want to put that out there, but thank you again for your hard work. And Martha, thank you as well, and the entire team, because truly, we know that teamwork makes the dream work, and it would not have been successful without all of us really coming together and lifting up all of our families. And one thing that I was particularly excited to see, as a personal point of privilege, is over 290 Chromebooks, brand new Chromebooks were given away. So I just want to, thank, the library district, as well as Mr. Kevin Watson, for coming in and really just wrapping, Chromebooks, if you will, around our families, which are, preloaded with so many resources to include a full digital library for our families. And as we know, knowledge is power. But if there aren't any other questions, and that concludes the director's report, I have a couple of items that I would like to cover that are of, I guess they're in high demand right now. Just in terms of answers, I know that there have been many members of the community who have been reaching out as it relates to a property that is being acquired right now on Martin Luther King and Bonanza that houses about 1,000 residents. And of those 1,000 residents, from my understanding, there are about 40 who are voucher holders that we, placed in those units. And I know that there are members of the public are watching, and I just want to make it clear that we are working to make sure that, number one, from the county's perspective, Clark County and the city of Las Vegas, who we've been working with, we're working feverishly to make sure that we identify some type of transition plan for those families who have been given a month to pack up everything that they own and find somewhere to go. So we're working with our Clark County Social Services Department to rapidly rehouse some of, our community members. It is in my Clark County Commission District as well as Ward 5 with City Councilman Cedric Creer. And we're working with our residents here. So I wanted to just put that on the record so that if there is anyone who's watching or listening to us today, just want you to know that we're working on behalf of you. And if you need support or help, you can not only reach out to staff here, but you can reach out to my office directly, 702-455-3239. And we're going to do everything that we can to keep you housed, as well as reach out to any council that we may need to make sure that the policies and procedures were followed as it relates to what it looks like as a summary eviction of over 1,000 folks in our community. The next thing that we're wanting to bring up is the fact that, there are a lot of residents who are being, I guess, told to leave properties that are owned by another entity and with the city of Las Vegas, because they're going to be selling some of those homes. And I want, to know that we're working on that as well, and that hasn't went to the wayside. So those are two items that I want to cover that are very, very serious, and that are hitting our community where it hurts the most at a time where they can't really know how they're going to survive the next month. And I just want you to know that we have resources available to us at Clark County, as well as obviously with the partnership with the Housing Authority to make sure that we keep families housed, our kids safe, and bellies full. So, Mr. Jordan, I just wanted to put that on the record and let folks know that we're working on it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
If there are no other comments, I'll now go to the second time for citizens' participation. Is there anyone here who would like to bring forward an issue that was not on the agenda, either in person or over the phone? All right, hearing and seeing none, I'll just say keep up the good work and have a great weekend. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.